Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we are focusing on FICO score. So we will talk about what a FICO score is, the history of it, how they work, how they're calculated, why you should care, and what you can do about it. So if you want to be able to get the best score possible and make sure you get all the money from the banks possible, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. But with that, what is a FICO score? Well, FICO score is a 3-digit number, and it's based on a summary of your credit report. So a credit report is kind of like your full history. It can be 10, 20 pages, however long you've been along and doing credit. It'll list all the accounts, open, close, history, all that good stuff. FICO score is basically just a summary of that's a 3-digit number. We'll talk about the scoring in a second. 3-digit summary off of that. Now, it's based off of 6 different factors, and that's what we're going to spend the most time talking about, how they calculate this, so you can be aware of it. But FICO came out in, I don't know, maybe in 1989, so about 30 some odd years ago, which isn't that long ago, but I'm 30, so maybe I just don't want it to be that long ago. But anyways, Fair Isaacs Corporation came out with it, and we can argue the goal of this or the intent of this today. But at the time, the intent was to say, hey, we need to make a standard way so that's fair for both the borrower and the lender so they can see how decisions are being made. Borrower gets some insight into, where they're at credit-wise. Lender can use something quick to make, more insightful decisions on lending. So before that, if you go back, way back in the day through history, it's the wild, wild west of figuring out, who's credit worthiness or not, right? Like, back, years and years and years ago, people just carrying around IOU books, figuring out who pays, who doesn't pay, and kind of sharing that information, amongst stores and things like that. So we definitely needed a better way, a more standard way to determine credit worthiness. So that's FICO. Now, again, you might know the scores. It's a 3-digit score, but what exactly are the numbers and how is this calculated? Well, on screen we have the numbers. And all of this is going to be from myfico.com. I'll link it down below if you want to go into much more detail about this, so credit where credit is due. But you can see the ranges on the left, 580 all the way to 800, the rating description, and next to it, so poor all the way to exceptional. So I'll leave that on screen for a little bit. But now the overall gist of it here, in my opinion, is one, why does this matter? Well, it matters because this is a credit card channel. So in terms of credit cards, they're usually just looking at your credit scores, a quick summary to determine credit worthiness. Certain cards you need certain ranges of credit scores for. But bigger than that, because we don't really care too much about the interest rate on credit cards because you don't worry about you're just going to pay it in full. But auto loans, home loans, things like that, this does play a part. Interest rate does play a big deal because over the course of 5 years for auto or 15 or 30 for a mortgage, that interest rate can add up, and the better rates you can qualify for, the more house you can afford, the less you're going to pay in interest, all of that. So that's kind of why it matters, more so on the grand scheme of things. But again, with credit cards, it is going to help your approval odds. For some of the higher tier cards, the Sapphire Reserves, the Amex cards, things like that you might want to get. So, in my opinion, I think we want to be in that good to very good tier. 800 is nice. I think 850 is the max. That's both very nice, but at that point, you end up in diminishing returns. I'm not saying don't strive for that, because good habits will get you there eventually, but, I think the best rates are going to be given in that range, the good to very good. Again, banks want to hand out products and make loans, so I don't think many places withhold loans or withhold higher interest rates after certain amounts. It's just in my experience, though. So those are the ranges. Now, how can you tell what you are? Well, a lot of sites have, Mint.com, a lot of the credit cards partner with TransUnion or Experian, and they'll show you kind of like a summary version of your credit report and score. Those have varying levels of accuracy, but they're good enough to kind of give you an idea of where you're at. So if you have enough cards, you usually have multiple credit monitoring services and things like that. So that's kind of what I use, but you can always request a full copy of your credit report and credit score from each of the major 3 bureaus. I think you get one for free every year from all 3 of them. That's always a good idea to do that. So we should probably make a video on that at some point. And so now that you know where to find it, really quick here before we take a look at the factors, what goes into calculating your score, right? Well, the accounts that they're looking at are going to be revolving accounts, so credit cards, home equity lines, retail accounts, those credit, accounts at stores. Installment loans have a start and end date, so mortgage 15 or 30 year, autos usually 5, student loans are now until whenever, I guess. And then public record, so collections, bankruptcies, lawsuits. wage attachments, things like that. All that's going to be on your credit report, and that's going to play a factor. Now, again, there are 6 factors for FICO. They're weighted, so we're going to start with them in order and just go through them. Then we'll come back here for some final thoughts. So the first one we have here is payment history. This is going to be 35% of your overall score makeup here. So this is looking at really specifically how you've paid your bills on time over the length of your credit history. This is, of course, used to determine the likelihood of repayment. So the factors here are going to be payment information on open accounts, overdue delinquent payments, amount owed on delinquent accounts or collection items, the number of past due items on your credit report, the amount of time you've had since delinquencies or certain adverse public actions, and the number of accounts that you are being paid as agreed to. Now, next up, we have amounts owed, which is about 30% of your score. This is looking at the total amount of debt you owe. This has also been called credit utilization. So this is used to determine if you're over leveraged or not. If you owe like hundreds of thousands of dollars, they're not going to want to give you any more money unless you make also millions of dollars, right? For example. So factors: amount owed on all accounts, amount owed on different types of accounts, how many accounts have balances, credit utilization on revolving accounts, and then how much is still owed on installment loans versus the original loan amount. Next, we have the length of credit history is 15%, so how long credit accounts have been opened. So the age of the oldest one, the age of the newest account, the average age of overall accounts, how long specific accounts have been opened, and how long has it been since the account was being used, right? So this is kind of, looking at sample size, right? You could have a really good score and only have credit for 6 months, but having a really good score for a longer time, obviously more sample sizes makes it look a little bit better. But again, only 15% there. Credit mix, 10%, used to gauge your ability to manage multiple types of credit. Revolving accounts like credit cards, installment accounts. We talked about some of these: mortgage, auto, and student loans. So just seeing how you can handle other things, other types of credits. But again, just 10% there. And then new credit. This tracks how many credit inquiries you've had over the last 12 months. So new accounts, recent inquiries, and the time since you last opened a new account. So those are the factors, and you can clearly see, I'll put up the chart one more time of the FICO wheel, but you can see here that payment history and amounts owed are the biggest factors, right? So really what that tells us is you need to pay your bills on time, pretty obvious, right? And then amounts owed, also in our game of credit cards, is referred to credit utilization, which really just talks about on revolving accounts, right? If you have $1,000, credit limit on your Chase card and you make a $100 purchase, then you're talking about having, 10% utilization rate. You've used 10% of that credit. So again, if we're just paying our credit cards on time, keeping that stuff in check, then you should be fine. Now, the other thing that always comes up is, credit mix. Is it, back in the day, people would say, should I go apply for a car loan or something like that to build up my credit mix? Well, the answer is no, because one, it's 10%, so they're telling you it's not really that high. It's almost at 10%. It's kind of like a nice to have if you have an auto loan, if you have a mortgage, great. But I wouldn't go out of my way to just get other types of loans just to bolster up that 10%. You can do just fine with having credit cards, building up payment history that way. The other one is, new credit. Another thing we talk about a lot is, I don't want a hard pull on my credit or credit pool because it can drop your score a little bit. I tend to not worry about that too much, to be honest with you. If a card has a decent bonus or something, I'll go ahead and I'll put in the application, so be it. A hard pull here and there is not going to really hurt you that much. It can bring down your average age of credit a little bit, but realistically, again, it's not really weighted that high on the chart. It's much more important to, again, make those payments and not carry tons of balances, especially on those revolving lines of credit. Because I can tell you I have 2 mortgages and I just paid off a car loan, and I still have a score somewhere in the 700s. I think it was like 769, something like that, 770 last time I looked. If I can find it, I'll put them up for you so you can see it. And all in, that's like $309,000 worth of debt between the two. But again, we're making the on-time payments every month, so it's not really that big of a deal. And they can see on your report, the loan balance goes down from the origination amount, so you're doing good there. So I don't worry about it too much. Now, there are some things I don't really worry about a hard pull for. If it's only like a $100 bonus or something, I'll probably pass on it. But again, I wouldn't personally worry about it too much. And one other note here is the score system is designed to let you shop around, right? So if you're shopping for a mortgage, For example, they can tell mortgage pulls are different and mortgage credits a little bit different. They can tell, and if you're like shopping over the course of, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, you get a bunch of pulls from different lenders. They can tell, and it's not going to tank your score because, again, the formula, I don't know the specifics about it, I'm sorry, but it is designed to allow you to shop rates, on that, or even auto loans or something like that. I don't think they're going to excuse like 5 credit card applications in one go because they can tell what you're going for, but rate shopping, totally fine. So again, closing thoughts here on why this is important. It's important to understand the factors of this because, again, this dictates so much in the financial world which we operate in. Credit cards that you get approved from, your rates on your mortgage, your auto loans, and things like that. So this is how it's calculated. And basically, you can go through here. This also gives you the roadmap of what to do versus what not to do, right? We know that. Pay your bills on time. You can set up auto payments so you never miss a payment on your credit cards. It's usually only like $25 or like a percentage of it. So you can do that. A lot of card issuers allow you to set reminders to pay as well. Things like that. And if you're paying off those credit cards every month, you can, that makes the rewards all that much worth it. You should be good to go. And again, if you play this game long enough, you're going to build up your average age of credit over time. My grandma used to say the secret of getting old is just keep living, and that's kind of the best way to do it. But if you wanted to lengthen that, you could look to add some authorized user accounts to your card, perhaps to your report. I'll link to a video down below about that if you're interested. But overall, FICO is a really important thing. It shouldn't be a scary thing. Just once you understand it, you should be good to go. Follow the formula, and then you should be good and always get approved for the cards you want, hopefully being able to get all those reward points. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found a particularly interesting course, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, posting content just like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. My question for you guys is let me know what other type of videos you want in this series. Again, we just focused on the factors of FICO, but we could break this out into totally different ways to add supporting content to this. So let me know what you want to see, as well as any follow-up questions or comments on FICO scores. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.